everybody. Welcome to the Clear Tai Chi Mastermind meeting for Friday, February 19th, 2021. And today's topic is qigong, neigong, and fa-gong. What is the difference? And first, a word from our sponsor. And if you're interested in more about these kinds of things and learning them and how to do them and use them and apply them and for your own health and depending on what it is for self-defense, etc., go to Clear Tai Chi online. That's clearmartialarts.com.
Yeah, clearmartialarts.com. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
And Essential Keys to Internal Power, which is a free Essential Keys to Internal Power. You can access that on there. You can get the Chi Energy D book and the DVD for the book. And the other one I would recommend to you is Clear's 24/7 Qigong, which is basically how to get it so that you're incorporating this really into your life and having aspects of it going on all the time. And that's at www.clearmartialarts.com. Okay, on to our regular program. So the first part of this, let me introduce everybody today. This is Matt Holker. He's the regional organizer for Maryville, Tennessee, outside of Knoxville. Welcome, Matt. Chris Walsh in Maine, and I'm gonna let him tell you what parts.
Hi, everybody. I'm in Hollowell, Maine, just outside of Augusta, Maine.
Welcome. And Ty Talbert in Colton, California, and I'll let him tell you what other parts. You're on mute right now, Ty.
Mute. Yes, hello, everyone. I am in Colton, California, but I'm also in Redlands and Riverside, California.
Welcome, welcome. And let's see here. Art Don in Washington, D.C. area. I'll let him tell you where.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Greenbelt, Maryland. That's about 15 miles or so east of Washington, D.C.
Welcome. And Daniel Stringer, and I'll let him tell you what parts of Central Florida he's in there. Hi, Daniel.
We're in, hey, how you doing? Paisley, DeLand, just north of Orlando. And hello.
And Harry Legg in Verona, New Jersey, outside of New York City, where the place currently known as New York City.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Sifu.
Jim Kelly in Boca Raton, Florida. Welcome, Harry. Jim Kelly in Boca Raton, Florida.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Sunny. What other parts are you in down there in sunny Florida? Sunny South Florida.
Boca Raton, Delray Beach. So, you know, up and down.
Yep. Philip Chan in Columbus, Georgia.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey, Phil.
Sheila Bell in Costa Rica. I'm going to let her tell you what parts.
Hey, everybody. I am in Guanacaste, which is the northern Pacific region of Costa Rica, and I teach in La Veria, in Playas del Coco, and in Playa Panama.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Good to see you. Anybody else I'm missing there? I think that's all of you for now, for today. Okay, so going once, going twice. All right, so I want to talk about and explain and then get into conversation about some of the differences or the differences between qigong, neigong, where Clear Tai Chi fits into that, and talk about our clear fa-gong, clear method of fa-gong, and how that ties in all of that. And Harry Lake was the one that had asked for this to be talked about, and he probably asked for it a year ago, but here we are. And so the definition of qigong is energy, chi, energy in all forms. Think physics, forms of energy, and whatever other kinds of energy, but energy. And then kung, like kung fu, kung is work. So energy work. And what is meant by energy work? Right? And so what is meant by energy work is anything you would do, like if you're working with your breath being a type, and the air and the oxygen and the mixture for breathing and respiration and all that kind of stuff, being an aspect of energy. And so if you're working on breathing exercises, you're working on a type of qigong. If you're making an energy ball and forming proper internal body connections and can feel the way qi feels on your body, you're doing qigong. If you're doing even what's called farmer's exercises, which is like standing post and that kind of a thing, or Tai Chi form, where you really are working on good alignments and the feeling of the energy inside, you're working on the qigong. If you're doing different kinds of meditation for body, mind, harmony, and development. You're working on qigong, and so and then it's on that and other things that I haven't said, but a lot of the different aspects that would have to do with anything you could classify as some kind of energy and working with that energy, qigong. And so I want to open it up the floor to you guys right now and let you guys talk about that and comment and or what are your favorite examples of qigong. So other things that you would use maybe to help explain the qigong aspect to people, and then to folks, and then comments or what are your favorite examples of qigong. By the way, my favorite qigong is waving to open and close my joints and moving from external to internal to neigong, which we'll get into explaining more about that so you understand what it is I'm saying there on that last part. Anyways, whoever wants to go first, jump to it.
Yeah, I can.
Cool.
Well, I would just say first, I remember, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when I was looking at Sifu's stuff, and I hadn't even met him yet, and I purchased the Fogong DVD. And because I remember thinking, man, if I could figure out what this thing is that they're advertising, it'll make all the difference. And I had done qigong, Shaolin qigong, and with Tai Chi and all that kind of stuff for 10 years or more. And just even getting introduced to the Fogong and just via the DVD. And then about a couple months later, I went to the workshop and experienced the 3-day thing. It is vastly different than really what's out there. I would say is a good place to start, because I've done qigong with a lot of different people and a lot of different places in Florida. I mean, there's a lot of even massage people that get into qigong and all these kind of things. And once you put your foot in the door of what the Sifu was talking about, it's just vastly different. And I would say, for me, my favorite qigong is any of the real stuff, because a lot of it's just breathing. Really is what's out there, and breathing is important and it's a good thing, but it's really not the same thing that he's talking about. So, well, that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Daniel. Anybody else?
Well, you've got to include bone marrow washing.
Bone marrow washing, which is a neigong method, actually. So the internal, and it's a type of neigong being a type of qigong, which we'll talk about. But yeah, so you really like the bone marrow. I like the bone marrow breathing, and then the washing with it, especially building it up to the point where you can be doing like either the Tai Chi set, or even if you were standing in line somewhere and having the breath in like that, and the mind being able to feel the qi in your bone marrow, and to manipulate that in simple ways. There's some real simple alignments and things that you do for great health longer term. But Harry, I'm talking about it. You talk about it more.
Well, it's something that isn't all that difficult to learn, but as we've talked about, it's really not taught hardly anywhere. So the benefits, the youth benefits, not that you should be using it for this with any regularity, but the extra energy it gives you, the 20 minutes of bone marrow breathing is equivalent to about 4 hours of sleep. But ultimately, you're not doing that too often. You're using it to charge you up just for life and to have that reserve when you need it and get older. So I really like that. Everyone that I have had the opportunity to share it with and teach it to amongst my students is thrilled with that practice. And then to learn to take it further, where you can be doing it when you're not doing the main method that we have learned from you, but you can do it while you're just in everyday life. And of course, while you're doing your Tai Chi set.
Cool.
So I would like to add that one of the coolest parts of the bone marrow washing is that if you have the skill and you do it while you're falling asleep and you don't move for hours while you're asleep, you are getting the benefit that practice continues for hours while you're laying in bed with no effort on your part.
Yeah. The thing about it is when you see somebody sleeping and they've got that, the deep breathing, a lot of that is happening at yin level. So the nutritive chi level, which is 3 layers in, bone marrow being 4th layer in, when you're thinking about chi and that kind of a way of thinking about it. And so if you do the bone marrow washing, you're taking it one level deeper, and then that breath, that respiration, it's the natural sleep respiration kicks on, except it's out going all the way to that core like that. And so you're getting the same things you would have got from sleep, but massively enhanced. And hence there's kind of how you're getting the benefit. And so it sounds like it's a little bit much when you first think about it, but realize that people are only one step away from that normally in sleep. And so it's much closer to where you're at in deeper sleep than where you're at, than it is where you normally are breathing out and thinking about when you're awake. Unfortunately, most people untrained, they're at the surface level of like the very top of their skin and very high up in their lungs when they're awake. And it's only when they're sleeping that they're getting that deeper. This is saying that there's not a health problem, that they're getting that deeper thing. And so if you get the bone marrow washing, you start learning to breathe deeper overall like that and having the health going on because of that. And then when you're sleeping, like I said, you take it that one level deeper into the bone marrow. And so there's a lot of benefit there. So cool. Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, I would just say that one of the aspects I like about qigong is that it because it's like maybe the Tai Chi form, I find the most sort of active part of it, but as Sifu mentioned, a lot of it can be standing post or slow moving wave. And I like just the standing meditation in various postures, because then I feel the effects I get from that sort of internally and right around me, the sensations, it sort of helps energize everything about me, and it increases my awareness, and it seems like the sort of overall abilities. And depending on the day, the length of practice, maybe the particular posture, different areas develop. And I, besides finding it very beneficial, just fascinating that just standing still or such little motion, if even no motion, can cause such great energy benefits overall.
Yeah, it goes for fuel the energy. Cool. Thanks. Jim, I saw a hand like on your thing. Was that like a raised hand thing, or was that something else in the
No, I'm trying to learn how to use this stuff. So yeah.
You're ahead of me. I always use him to do it. I mean,
I was going to weigh in and echo a little bit what Daniel said. Before meeting up with you, my interpretation of the qigong was something a little bit harder, and coming from the harder style, that I thought about the guy getting a 2x4 broken over his arm, or the laying on a bed of nails, or getting hit with a sledgehammer or something, but I got to say, after practicing it and going to a couple of the seminars and learning to appreciate just the amount of power within the body, even when you remaining in such a sung stage or a very relaxed stage, and being able to push open a door, or strike a wall, or not that I often put my hand through walls, but it does have to happen sometimes. But, it's that whole more strength with less physicality, and that being able to eliminate some of the wear and tear on the body and use it to regenerate the body.
absolutely. Yeah, long-term health.
Yes.
The hard qigong, which is kind of the examples you're talking about, is that you build that qigong, and then the example or the demonstration that you have it and it's working right. Is that kind of like where we do the one where when somebody's done the marrow washing for more than 100 days consistently, you can actually flex the arm or the other parts of the body like the way you would with little kids. And so the hard qigong demonstrations are done. Ideally, somebody has built up the skill. So people a lot of times think, well, if you teach me how to do that in one day and I'll put my arm out there or lay on the bed of nails or whatever, or they go, okay, well, that's a physics trick. And they wouldn't be wrong about the physics trick for like laying on the bed of nails. But what happens is that there's a state that you have to have your body in a condition and a position and these kinds of things that you have to have your body in that are part of what you really want for the qigong, that are really healthy. And your ability to do that trick, for a lack of a better way to put it, is not really a trick like it's fooling somebody, but the skill, the skill, like if I'm juggling, that's a trick of the skill of juggling the balls or whatever, right? Anyways, the skill for the trick is that you had to get the energy and the alignment and your body conditioned to a certain state in order to be doing that correctly. And that I think that a lot of people see those tricks and don't realize the benefits that the training to be able to do the trick provides. Just like if I'm juggling, there's a lot of hand and eye and a lot of if you're doing like 5 balls, and I don't juggle, so he can speak to this better than me, because he does juggle a lot of things. The point being that there's a sensitivity and a feel to that and a timing to that, and all of those skills have to be there. It's not just the trick of, hey, I've got 5 balls in the air or 3 balls in the air and 1 in each hand, that kind of thing. Anyway, so that people sometimes miss the skill and the benefits of the skill that come into play for the tricks like that, and there are plenty of them. Cool. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say, I think it's kind of a simple thing, but for me, it really wasn't simple in the beginning. Just doing an energy ball check. It's still kind of really cool to think about that when you're just putting your hands, close together, and you're like, wow, I actually feel something. It's still kind of an amazing thing. And I remember in the very beginning, I struggled a lot with that. And I realized through the training and working and being dedicated that I had it going on, but it was stronger in the opposite. So when I pulled my hands apart is when I felt
the reverse magnetic. Yeah, sure.
And now I can feel it either way, but it was just, I was so busy trying to find that one thing that I didn't realize I had it going on the whole time, and I just had to get to understand it. So being relaxed in the song makes a huge difference in this whole thing.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people do the energy ball and they think that the energy ball was the end all be all of the thing, right? Oh, wow, I got an energy ball. And it's like, no, that's actually the tool to use so that you can check other stuff. In other words, if the energy ball is not there or barely there, where am I making errors at, and then correcting for those errors. And when you can get it to the point, it goes through the stages from where it just feels a little bit heat or a little bit windy or whatever, there's not much to it, through it's much more of a very strong magnets quality to being solid, and then some other things. The stronger and more that is, that means it's telling you as a feedback mechanism that you are that much more correct about what you're doing, and it's a check for that stuff. It's actually a measurement tool, and when used that way, it gets quite profound in the way that you're talking about too. So
yeah, it's really beneficial to feel that and experience it through your training. And there's times where I'm like, why don't I feel it? And it helps me with my training.
Yeah, it helps you figure out what's missing or what's being shut off or where you're too tense and all that, and then fix it. Absolutely.
And what's working well.
I love it as the diagnostic tool like that. That is probably also one of my favorite things, so much so that I literally use it a lot and don't think about it anymore. I'm just so used to being able to check, is that thing really doing this cool stuff or not? And if I don't feel it, then it's immediate adjustments, until it's on. So yeah, cool. Thanks.
Oh, I'd like to add another good aspect of the energy ball is it's a good way to introduce people to some of the more energetic aspects of Tai Chi and power it has, besides being slow and relaxing and meditative, that there really is more to it. And some of the more interesting, almost fantastic feats some Tai Chi masters perform is with this energy. And it's just sort of, well, this is only the beginning of it, but it's an indication that there is more to Tai Chi than the physical power, and it's a good lead-in for this, and also it's a good way to introduce people to try to help as they perform Tai Chi to be aware of the energy ball and the energy initially in their hands, say, and to work to keep that feeling going all the time, so that it helps just in the performance of the Tai Chi.
Yeah.
To perform. It's,
Yeah, you
so
can check all the way through as you go.
it can be a good teaching tool, practice tool also.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it is that nice, really kind of sweet spot, halfway point between, or I think of it as that between sort of more the body energy kind of qigong that tends to be a little more like exercise a little bit, or maybe more like stretching or things that are more body oriented. And then there's much more like moving the energy with your mind and feeling the energy with your mind and relaxing and sensing the energy itself, rather than kind of your physical energy that way. And the energy ball check that we've been talking about here for the last few minutes is really a nice kind of sweet spot right sort of in the middle, because it's got that element of, you need the sensitivity to it, you need the relaxation, but it also reinforces your physical positioning. And if your physicality is off, it will, your check ideally will tell you that, but also like your physicality has to be a little bit correct to get it going on in the first place. And so there's a little bit of physical kind of training to it, but there's also that really deep kind of mind oriented, energy connected thing going on. And it's why the hold the bowl and those kinds of energy connected exercises typically are like sort of the aspirin of the qigong world, because they really do cover kind of the biggest, broadest part of that spectrum.
Yeah, do 15 minutes of hold the bowl and call me in the morning.
Right, yeah.
Call me in 2 weeks. Yeah. The Sheila, you did pop up here on the screen for a minute. Were you going to add something in, or was it just a glitch?
No, I'm here. This kind of question is always hard because I love it all. So it's like, what's my favorite? Well, all of it, right? But I was doing the online Tai Chi class for a while, and what really got me motivated to travel and go up and meet you and take a workshop was qigong. And I'm thrilled to have it because it allows me to share a lot of the benefits that I get on my own doing my practice, but I can share with other people who don't have that practice. And to me, that's so valuable to be able to people and share that. But the first thing that popped into my mind when you said, what's your favorite, is the neigong set. I love it. I love the bone marrow washing. It changed my life. You know, I do it every single day. But the neigong set is really, really special. It's short enough that you can do it anytime. It's easy enough to learn that you can share it with students. It just really makes you feel the energy, and you can get to a point where you can do it, you know, sort of discreetly in public and no one would even know, because you reduce your movements to a point where it's all internal.
All internal.
And it's just so effective to do. Like I love the energy ball check because you can do it in any of the positions while you're working on, you know, all of your different forms. But the neigong set gets it going so much more, you know, that the comparison, if you have a student who's doubting any energy effects and you say, okay, make an energy ball. Maybe I feel something, I'm not sure, it's a tingle, but maybe it's just suggestion, I don't know. Then do the neigong set and try it again. And you're going to see that energy ball grow so much that it's just, you know, absolute proof for anybody who's doubting. So yep. I just think it's a fantastic little set. Love it.
Cool. Ty, we didn't get to hear from you yet today, and I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody here. I'm trying to make sure you all get the way in.
No, I really agree with a lot of the things that I heard. My initial exposure to qigong was white eyebrow, and I was already a hyped up individual, and it hyped me up even more. So like, no, can't do this. And then I'm like finding out that, the qigong can take you in so many different directions, not only physically, but mentally and spiritually. And I prefer the direction of the things that you've taught me as opposed to the white eyebrow stuff where
The Tai Chi, the white eyebrow, super hyped up, super powerful. It's designed to get you jacked and really screaming with the energy very quickly. But with all the safety, like it's like they wanted a race car and they took off everything they could do without, which included every bit of safety gear and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that to disparage white eyebrow. I like white eyebrow. Just the training on the neigong side, which we'll get into what neigong is. It's designed to be that you're going to get super powerful and jacked up. Well, no, not. I'm going to say that a little differently. It is designed to get you super jacked up and hyper. The problem is that there's not a lot of regard for your sanity in the process. And maybe you'll be okay, and maybe you won't. And like in the really hardcore versions, about 3 out of the 4 people that are studying it, they get a little bit or a lot whacked out and just, a little too much. Tai Chi is going to be powerful, is powerful. It's just got all the safeguards are on there. And it's like, we're not going to run super hot like that. But we are going to build it all. It's just, we're going to do it with the safeguards in place and with the other kinds of safeties in there. So that way you're really going to get the higher level stuff, but it's going to be calming. The other one is in the white eyebrow. I don't know what the longevity is on those guys. I know they can get to be fairly old. But again, it's got that hyper, which isn't so good for you on the stress level, especially in modern society, for living a long time. The Tai Chi is doing this while really trying to have you very calm, very sedate isn't the right word, but very placid, very, very calm, very pacific, very like that, with a lot of energy, but then really with that health, long-term health, physical and mental and spiritual in mind. Right up front, and that it's really designed to make you healthy and stronger and stronger and stronger. And so there's a different approach like that, like you're talking about.
Yes. The guy that was teaching it to me, he was in his late 70s, and he was probably getting in a fight about once a month.
Yeah. That's a year old guy going to the bar and just cracking people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And winning, but
Yeah.
Happy that he won. I mean, yeah. No, I'm aware. Yeah, where the Tai Chi guy doesn't go to the bar, or go to the bar and he's the really cool cat sitting in the corner, yeah, sipping on his water. Anyway,
as long as he's not the man in the back that says everyone attack.
Yeah, there's that. Anyways, did I miss anybody by chance?
So I have something to say in just a minute, but Tai, so was your instructor who was getting into a fight once a month, was that something he was enjoying?
Oh yeah.
Or was it...
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had 2 instructors like that. In fact, one person that Master Clear knows that he also enjoys a good fight.
One of my teachers or
no, the one of the people that I train with here.
I got you.
Yes.
Oh my.
And he's 85.
He still wants to go
and
out.
still winning.
Yes.
Still winning. Yeah, one of my teachers, he doesn't do that anymore, although he is known to be quite ornery. And he definitely, as long as he was in his 60s, was still out there doing that, for sure. And I don't know at what point he called it off, but even to personally interact with him, for somebody that wants to be like, in the martial arts, you get people that are jerks sometimes, and when he gets one, he kind of gets a happy smile and goes from there. And versus for me, I'm like, oh man, the guy down the street, you really want that guy down the street. He's got the good karate ones. Yeah. Anyways.
So Phil, you had something else you were gonna weigh in on?
Yeah, no, so Sifu, I have something to say that's probably going to gum up the works, but let me just put it out there. So I've heard people say, there are hundreds of styles of qigong.
Sure.
And Tai Chi
known
is,
different styles,
is
right?
one of the qigong styles, and it's the most widely practiced.
Okay.
And there's truth to that,
Yeah.
but I think it's an incomplete statement because there's all the combative stuff of Tai Chi that is not part of qigong as far as I know.
There is a lot of martial qigong. So like if you split qigong into big categories, there's martial qigong, and that's a whole big category. There's health qigong, and that's a whole big category. And then there's like spiritual or mind-based spiritual development qigong. And I might be missing one here, but there's at least those three big categories. And so the fact that it's martial with the qigong, like all the jings, which Tai Chi has, those are almost all of that is qigong. And yet it's very martially oriented. It also has health application, but its health application is an expression out. In other words, you're the worker working on someone else if you're using Jing usually to do that. Now you can use Jing inside your own body to do that too. Waving is a Jing. Electric and magnetic are both Jing. Rooting is a Jing. And so you can use it on yourself for stuff like, let's say I've got, I'm scattered. Well, I do rooting stuff and it centers me and pulls me in and calms me down, right? And so there's a medical use of rooting Jing. Somebody else, you can actually express that to them. That's a little bit more of a level up. By the way, if you want to know more about the levels, that would be go take a look at the
Tai Chi Roadmap.
The Tai Chi Roadmap. Say it again.
Roadmap to Tai Chi Mastery is the
which is at taichiroadmap.com. Anyways, and it's going to talk about that, but it is use of that qigong in that way, right? And then waving, if you have a blockage or somebody else has got a blockage, you can use waving and spiraling jings along with some others, and to really work on that both in yourself and as an expression on somebody else if you're like a massage therapist or other kind of body worker like that. And so it is still qigong. The other thing I'll say about that is that all real Tai Chi is also qigong, but a lot of qigong is not Tai Chi.
Yep. Okay.
So
cool.
It's not that the Tai Chi is qigong by its definition. It's just in the category of how it operates and what it's doing and why it's doing it and all of that. Only at the Li or beginning level where you're learning the moves and the postures and things would it not be considered qigong. As soon as you hit level 2, which is qi level, from then up, you're doing all sorts of qigong things like pretty much the whole time.
And even the Li level is pretty much there to get you to the
get
Qi
you
level.
to have you to have the right vessel for the qi level to operate within. Because if your body's bent up, kinked, misaligned, you can't work the qigong properly. It won't flow through you the way that it needs to because your body's got too many kinks in it, or too much tension. Same thing. It squeezes and stops the flow, so to speak. Cool. All right. Any other?
Thank you. That's great. That really understands that expands my understanding of the relationship. Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. So again, a word from our sponsor. So we have Clear Tai Chi online. That's at www.clearmartialarts.com. There you can get the free practical guide to internal power. We also have the essential keys to internal power, which has to do with that body alignment and making sure you can feel the energy and some of those aspects. And then we've got the Chi Energy book and the DVD for the book, and that is Chi Energy Activation, Cultivation, and Flow. And so it's a nice primer that gets into some fairly advanced things, but in a very simple way, so that it's open and easily understandable to everybody. And then we've got Clear's 20. If you've been doing some qigong, had some qigong, and you're going, I can do it when I'm practicing, but what about the rest of the time? For that, Clear's 24/7 qigong, and that's ideally what would actually be going on, is it's part of your life, not something you have to take time out separately to do. That doesn't mean whatever you're working on is new, you got to put time into that separately. But the idea is to integrate this into your life, not have it as a separate thing. And so the 24/7 qigong is going to help you to really do that and explain how to go about that. those
And
are all available.
pretty much anything else we've talked about in this podcast or any other podcast you've heard is going to be available at clearmartialarts.com with very few exceptions. And we're working on shoring up those exceptions. We're trying to get everything we put out available on clearmartialarts.com. So the Fagong set that Daniel mentioned earlier, the healing workshop that's the course that's available, the Tai Chi roadmap that we were just talking about, the roadmap to Tai Chi mastery. The first thing you got to do is go to clearmartialarts.com, sign up for the free practical guide to internal power, check out the Tai Chi roadmap. Those are both free, and then explore from there. And you know, you'll be on our email list. You can get in touch with me directly if you have any questions about how to get started or where to go from there. But the first thing you got to do is head to clearmartialarts.com.
Cool, thank you. So the definition of neigong is internal. Ni, nai, noi. I don't pronounce, my Chinese pronunciation is not good, so I apologize for that. But ni, N-E-I in English typically is how you see it. Every once in a while I've seen it as N-U-I, noi. Seen it a couple other ways, but that towards that. Anyways, it means its translation is internal. And so Nei Kung or Nei Kung, and that's internal work. Now, one of the things, let me say this on qigong and neigong across the board. A lot of times people will advertise, and I've seen this out there in the marketplace, qigong or neigong, and you get it, and it's like the 8 moves, and then people go, I do qigong, and they start doing the 8 moves, and there's no energy going on there, or very little, and they've got all kinds of physical misalignments and things where the energy is just not really at play, but they're doing the physical movement stuff, and I'm kind of going, okay, what you got there is a set that the qigong is supposed to happen inside of you doing those moves, but you have to actually understand the qigong. And what happens is you understand this physical movement, you understand it to the degree that you're doing it, the physical moves, but the qigong's not really happening. And then I'm doing the qigong now, and they're like, well, you're not doing any moves, because the energy work doesn't require moves. It's sometimes helpful, and some things are sets, like a Tai Chi set, or like any number of sets you could name. But like the marrow washing, it's really what's going on inside of you, the internal, right? And it's that internal work. It's not something that you're doing outside of yourself, you know, in terms of moving around and holding a posture and those kinds of things. And so the internal work, bone marrow washing neigong, is internal. And then big movements are typically thought of as external work. And then the internal is really what's going on inside of you. That's sort of the simple of it, right? And so a number of you've already said that kind of your favorite qigong practice is the bone marrow washing, which I would then say that's probably also your favorite neigong practice, or in the case of like the neigong set that we have, and it's the same thing. It's a simple set. In terms of the physical movement, there are 8 movements there, but for me with that, a lot of people, even when they're teaching that stuff, they have you do the moves and go through it, and they don't really explain or get into the energy, and so it's a way of hiding what's actually happening within the neigong, because everybody's doing the physical moves. Let's just say it's expanding and contracting the energy ball, right? And so they're sitting there waving it back and forth. You come up and you feel them, and it's like there really isn't any energy, or even not much energy going on there. You said this was neigong, and they're like, oh yeah, it's this move. And it's like, okay, the neigong is the internal work. It's not that move. It's what the energy is inside of that. And so when I'm teaching that set, I've really gone the extra length to make sure that you're really moving the energy. In fact, the advanced aspects of the set is you're not externally physically moving anymore, and the energy is still doing all that stuff. And so it's how to build to that and get that really going on. And realize that with the bone marrow washing and in the neigong set, this stuff is very, very, very hidden. So much so that on the internet for a long time, and maybe still now, if you look up bone marrow washing, it says that it was once practiced by the old masters, the Chinese masters, and it's thought not to exist anymore. And it does exist. It's just been hidden so much that you have to be in a lineage where they have it and where they're really teaching it and trying to pass it down. Most of the time, it's very much reserved for, you know, a very select few people in that style or in that person's family and that kind of thing. Or they're doing it, but you're supposed to pick it up by figuring out what they're doing. And if they were out here moving their hand up and down like a yo-yo, like playing with a yo-yo, I'd go, okay, I can look at that and start to figure it out. They're doing it inside and they're doing things, and I'm supposed to somehow magically figure that out. Only by having the ting sensitivity, which is an high aspect of Tai Chi, and then the qigong, and you can't do the neigong without it. You're gonna have to develop that sensitivity, that ting. And so if you don't have that sensitivity, you're just not, and somebody's teaching that way, you're just never going to be able to pick it up. And even having the sensitivity, it's going to have to be developed to a pretty high level. And is your body and your mind in the right place and trained up to be able to do that? And there are methods for that, right? And that's part of the qigong and the neigong for sure. And without it, I'd say you're wandering around in the dark for a very long time, and mostly unnecessary, like 10 years plus, easily. I've seen that again and again and again in current society of Tai Chi practitioners too. And it's unnecessary and kind of sad. Now, if they've been doing it that long and they do hit it, it's like, eureka, I finally hit it. And maybe they're going to have a slightly better skill than somebody that was just taught it and went, yeah, okay, that's nice. But the payoff there just isn't worth the 10 years or 20 years worth of delay that maybe they never get to that. And I've seen that happen. And so for me, it's really, I'm going to convey it. And then if you're going to be like, oh, that's neat and nifty and whatever, then it wasn't for you, or you just didn't have the mind for really getting what it is, or couldn't appreciate it. But then for those who do, I don't think you should have to wander around for 10 or 20 years in the dark trying to figure it out. And so when you see me teach these things on the materials we have, I'm really conveying what's going on with the energy and what you should be feeling for and the markers for it and that kind of thing. If I don't want to see any of my students who've been with me for even 2 years, where they're doing been doing a neigong set for 2 years, and I'm looking at physical external movements and there's no energy there. I'm like, you didn't watch. If they got it off a DVD, I'd be like, did you watch that? Or even on the digital product, because I explained what's going on there in detail, and you're not, so fortunately, almost every time somebody's shown me something like that, they've got the energy going on. It doesn't mean I don't have to make a tweak or two sometimes, but they've got what's supposed to happen there. It's not just this physical movement without the energy. So anyways, so what is your favorite neigong practice? If it's one you said already with the qigong, we got that. Or so comments, or what is your favorite neigong practice? Let me tell you mine real quick. Sorry. My ability to make internal adjustments against getting sick, which has worked for me very well, and to help heal energies, like when I worked on my back and really got it where I broke it in the 4 places and got it so that 6 months after breaking it, I was able to compete in the, what they call the weight?
The infinite weight class.
The infinite weight. They all outweighed me by over 100 pounds. Weight class. And I was able to compete at that successfully. By successfully, in other words, I didn't get my back rebroke, and I was healthy and well at the end of it, and I did a good showing. I didn't win, but anybody watching the video, there've been people, as you know, a lot of haters on the internet today who tried to hate on it. When they watch the video, they have a hard time hating on it, because I'm holding my own, and there is no mystery that that the guy next to me that I'm pushing with is a giant, and compared to me. And and my answer to that, when they first started trying to pick on us, let me see you break your back in 4 places, and then 6 months later, go do this. And then they quit talking at that point. So I really do like that it has that level of health and healing, and it's quality of life.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
The internal power that comes at the higher levels of Tai Chi can seem mysterious, but that is mostly because Tai Chi students don't see the big picture yet. They don't even understand what the higher levels of the art are, much less have a plan to get there. Even though the senior masters mostly agree on what the steps are, they mostly don't talk about it. On the taichiroadmap.com, I outline all of the steps of Tai Chi development. Everything is explained so you know what to do, when to do it, and why. This is the complete roadmap to Tai Chi mastery, with an explanation of all the steps from rank beginner to senior master. Again, that is a free course that you can access online. Go to taichiroadmap.com to sign up. That's taichiroadmap.com.
Anybody want to?
I don't want to weigh in.
Well, I will start, because a long time ago, one of the first things I learned in Kung Fu was a set of 5 internal exercises that were to benefit the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, stomach, and spleen. And they were fairly basic exercises, and I would do them, and externally they would work the meridian, sort of exercising the acupuncture meridians, and I felt well doing them. And also with, especially with internal Kung Fu, it's very important to do something every day. And I found that if I was really pressed for time, I could do these 5 exercises, even though I certainly tried to do a lot more, but do them, and that would sort of qualify for doing my internal work for the day. And I heard other people do this also, and it was a legitimate practice. But then working with Sifu Clear, I learned so much more about development of energy and what to look for, and almost a proper frame of mind and mind intent. And now as I do these same 5 exercises, I am much more aware internally of exactly what's going on, and increased energetic processes, and just overall internal development, I guess, and even sort of aura energy. So those are, as I say, it's five basic exercises that can be done fairly quickly, but with practice and the right principles, they are very beneficial. And they can, at this point, or after one does these exercises with the proper frame of mind and sort of Tai Chi principles, they can be gone over in the mind if one is just sitting, standing, and one gets the benefits of doing them, which is good if one is sort of limited, maybe traveling a lot and on a train or a passenger in a car or something. One could sit and go through these. So that's my favorite set of neigong, actually.
Yeah, that's great. And that's, you're absolutely right. It goes directly to that. Once you've built the mind body kind of connection and you've done it more physically, you can do it where you're running the energy with your mind, not mentally, not imagining it, but really feeling it and moving it, where you're not moving physically as much. And then it goes to that sort of 24/7, like training all the time, getting healthier all the time, like building energy all the time. And even when you're sitting in a car or recording a podcast,
or when you're teaching workshops where you're getting 3 hours a night sleep and everybody else looks like they're dying.
Not that he ever does that. Yes. Yeah. Harry, did you, I thought I saw you pop in for a second.
No, I was just going to say, though, that's every workshop of Sifu.
I'm trying to be better about it.
Yeah.
Meaning he's trying to get more sleep. He's not succeeding, but he is trying. All right. So anyone else care to weigh in?
Yeah. So 2 things. You mentioned that they did film your when you did the push hands competition after you broke your back.
There's some footage. It's not like somebody was there recording the whole thing, but there's some footage of it out there circulating around. Yeah.
One of the judges, who shall remain nameless, was an idiot, and he filmed while he was judging, if you can believe it. and then put that some of that film out there. And if somebody, this is a large international tournament where there are people there that are like really senior people sort of running it. And I think they didn't realize he was doing it, because otherwise I think they would walk up and go, "Are you judging today, or are you filming?" and put a stop to that nonsense. But anyways, and I'm not saying it because I'm unhappy about the footage. I think the footage does me pretty well. It's just, do what you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, sorry.
Aside from all that, is there a way for us to see that?
You'd have to like search on YouTube. I mean, we didn't record it, we didn't post it. It's not ours. It's just floating around out there in the internet.
Okay, and the name of the competition was?
It was the Lake Tai tournament, the push hands division at the Quoshu.
National or internationals. They switched. One year it's nationals, the next year it's internationals, and it might have been the national year. About 5 years ago, give or take. Well, 4 years ago. I know because it was July after I broke my back, and I broke my back 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, this July will have been 4 years ago. So 2021,
2017, I think was the year actually. Yeah, off the top of my head.
In July 2017.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So one question I have, and
by the way, you'll see that I look slightly rigid on the up and down if you go watch that, just ever so slightly much. After I realized that if one of the guys literally, because of the difference in size, was able to physically pick me up off the floor and toss me. And the first time I moved a little bit, didn't hurt my back or anything, fortunately, but immediately when I went back, I made sure to keep my back in a straight line. I would much rather get tossed or thrown out than let my back up, because I knew if I got tossed or crumpled up the wrong way that I was running a high risk of re-injury of my back, since it's only been 6 months. So I am straight as a board, and that's why. And it didn't hurt me too much. In fact, ideally Tai Chi is pretty straight up and down like that. So it helped me in some ways. At the same time, there were plays where I would be a little bit more, have more sung and a little bit more softer, for lack of a better way to say this, and be able to use that. That is missing a little bit, and you wouldn't notice it unless you look close, but I'm letting you know that's going on because I was protecting my back as my number one priority. I didn't care about winning as much as I did protecting my back, and then winning was a close second or third. So
cool.
Okay.
So one of the issues that I have, and this is before I got as involved with you as I am now, but I've certainly had students that moved energy when they did the form.
That did what?
When they did the Tai Chi form.
Yeah.
They moved energy well.
Okay.
And I could feel it, but they couldn't.
Okay. Yep. That happened.
If this comes up, or when this comes up again, are there any hints that you would have on how to address that? So their alignments are good enough, and they're relaxed enough, and they project it, but they can't feel it, but I can.
So you'll be wanting to look at our ting, some of our videos on ting, and we've actually just put together stuff for a video on ting. Is that correct?
Another one?
Well, I mean, we've got Dongjin. Do we have a Tingjing video?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we just put something together like that. We'll have to look at it. Anyways, the Dongjing and then the Tingjing, go through the different Tingjing exercises. There are in our intermediate Tai Chi program as well, and in other programs we have, and really start doing some of that stuff and building up the ability, the sensitivity. By the way, we did a podcast here, one of the ones before this one in the last, I don't know, less than 8 podcasts ago, where the whole focus was on Ting, and we were talking about that in some depth, in a little bit of depth. And it is that you're going to want to have them doing Ting exercises to build that, so that they can be sensitive and feel that stuff.
And push hands, obviously.
And Phil, in the program you're working on, I think this week you're working on those kinds of exercises. So
yeah,
specifically,
you will.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have a bunch of them to go with there. And then we've got it also in the internal push hands level 1. There's 5 different places in there where I've got you working on the sensitivity, because the Ting is that important. Ting is the thing.
Well, literally every piece of the push hands level 1 has a Ting element to it, because you can't really push it if you can't feel it.
Well, or it would only be external where you're not feeling it. And the goal is to get really, really good at feeling it and manipulating it and being able to actually functionally do things with it. And so there's a whole training process there that is specifically for that.
The other thing I will say about the push hands, if they can do it, I know COVID, sometimes there's restrictions for that, but if you can get people pushing, safely and with precaution and all that, the feeling the energy move inside of you with some amount of kind of external physical stuff going on. When I say external, I mean like the other person pushing on you. is outside of you, and you can feel that happening and where it's landing in your body and that kind of stuff. Sometimes building up those kinds of internal connections that way will free someone up to really feel the energy movement that's kind of going on in and around and through them a little better once they have a better map of kind of where all the spots in their body are and the way that they fit together and move together and respond to forces.
I've also got a guided, personalized instruction, like private instruction program that is really a guided 10-week, 12-week program on feeling the energy and depth. And if you want to know about that, inquire, reach out to Matt here, and we can talk to you about that more. If that's something where you're going, yeah, that's where I'm at in my development, that would really make the difference. And if you don't have it, believe me, it really makes that difference. It is important.
So I just realized another thing from that course would be to get someone to feel it is those exercises where we drop root and we pull it up and drop it on the other side.
Yeah, that's all, yep, that's part of the stuff in the internal push hands too.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah. So I think that would,
of course, that's
that would also help them start to feel it more. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so the internal push hands instructor course and curriculum and all the stuff to feel and how to feel it and all that, if you have partners to work with or you want to work with people and feel things that way, is available at clearmartialarts.com. Definitely go there and check that out. And then if you're looking for more like live support in a more kind of streamlined crash course, I want to feel chi, I want to manipulate it, I want to use it, I want to see the results in real time, really quick.
And know that it's actually there and I'm not imagining this.
Right, and really prove it and use it and all that. We do have that kind of program. It does right now have to be delivered where like we're really working with you. And so if you want to inquire about that, just ask me directly. And my email address is all over clearmartialarts.com.
Cool. Thanks, Phil. Did you have anything else there or?
No, and I just realized as I was playing around with it, the tweaks that you gave to me for the Wudong energy ball, the changes in how I open up my shoulder.
Yes.
Makes the Wudong energy ball hugely more, like 3 or 4 times. I didn't realize it yesterday, but I just sitting here, I was, whoa, that's really changed the Wudong energy. Just that little adjustment in the shoulders and the positioning of the hand. It's
and that's part of the reason it's personalized like that. He's doing the program. That's why we're
so very cool.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Excellent. Anybody else? Other aspects for the neigong and what you like, or comments, or other aspects of it, or all that? Things you found or things you find students are getting, any of that? Yeah, go ahead, Ty.
Well, something that I've done based on you hurting your back is that I have really bad knees. I've had one completely replaced and the other one needs to be replaced. And I find that if I run the energy around my knees, not only am I able to function better, but I have a whole lot less pain. And so when someone comes to me and says, well, I've got bad knees, I don't know if I can do this, I just pull up my pants legs and let them see like these 7 or 8 scars that I have on my knees.
Make sure that they know that the Tai Chi's not what did this to me. That was before Tai Chi.
Oh yeah, I tell them I jumped out of too many airplanes.
I don't think it was the jumping out of the airplanes that do it. It's not the speed or the falling. It's that sudden stopping. That's kind of how my back got done. It was on the sled, and the speed down the hill wasn't what, they said speed kills. The speed didn't break my back. That sudden stop.
Yes.
That was a different ball game.
You should have had a shoot.
I should have had a shoot that day. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Ty. Anybody else?
Sheila, I don't want to put you off until the end. I know
what I wanted to mention is, in my personal experience, the neigong exercises puts you in closer contact as far as your spiritual development. It really makes you a conduit.
Well, it's
of
sort of
energy.
the next level, like it goes from the physical to the mental to the spiritual, and then there's some other things in there that you have to pay attention to. But that is the order of events. So absolutely.
Yeah. So nobody had mentioned that, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. That
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's nice. Can you talk more about your own experience of anything that you're obviously be careful on what you're sharing, but anything there that you think would be worthwhile for people to hear or that you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah. No, it's I don't remember like a eureka moment, but just an overall development, like there's more sensitivity, there's more connection, there's more compassion, there's more I would say connection is the main connection, not just to sort of otherworldly things, if you'll say, but connection to other people, connection to nature, connection to animals. I mean, it's just, you feel like you're part of this existence and that you're participating and that it's influencing you and you can influence it. And it's just a really nice, I think it gives you a little bit of perspective of how trivial a lot of the things we get upset about are. It's like those things don't matter. We need to, move forward to something that's more important. So I've really enjoyed that aspect. It really
cool.
Rounds out your, existence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know what you're saying. When it's physical, then the next part is to get that energy. And then once you've got the energy, it's already starting to kind of plug you into more your mind. And then the spiritual part's going to naturally follow if you're going through the progression. So absolutely. And then there's obviously lots of training for all of that, and things to do and know and that. Okay, Harry, I see.
I just want to add to Sheila's comment about the spiritual side of that. I have a Thursday night advanced student Zoom class, and Sheila will frequently join, which is wonderful. And there was a week where we all did the neigong set, and then we connected to each other long distance, as we have been working on. And after everyone did the neigong set, boom, the connection was quick and easy for those that were having some difficulty. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Excellent.
That is, I will just add to that kind of sentiment that the spirituality and the spiritual connection that you get from these practices, or that opens up to you from these practices, is I really like it because it is very much rooted in reality, in like physical reality, like here in this plane of existence where we all kind of fundamentally live. And it's not a divorce from that. It is an access, like the access to the spirit is not a divorce from physical reality. Like you got to go meditate in a cave and, take yourself out of society and don't eat anything and, subsist on the dew of a blade of grass or whatever. It's not that. It's very much, you are immersed in your life and in the physical world and in the real world, and you have access to this information and this inspiration and these other qualities that are enhancing your life here and making you even more powerful here in certain kinds of ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, and that all comes out of the training. But that's why the training goes in the stages that it does, in the steps that it does. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with those stages or steps or what they are or why they come in the order that they do, check out taichiroadmap.com, or you can check out the Tai Chi Roadmap either at taichiroadmap.com, or you can go to Clear Martial Arts and check it out there with all the other stuff.
Cool. Yep. Anybody else that didn't get to weigh in on that yet that would like to say?
Add something to what Sheila said. So one of the things that I really enjoyed with Tai Chi and some of the other things I've done is I developed the ability to feel the energy of trees. And that has really enhanced my experience of being out of doors and being in nature. And I just realized I didn't do it with a Tai Chi approach, but I realized it would be very easy to. So it would just be, you would reach out to ting the tree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
over time, you would be able to feel the energy of
Put
the
your
tree.
hand on it and do that, and then build it up to where you'd be able to do it where you're not even having to touch it anymore. Yes.
Okay.
Everybody wants to jump to doing stuff if they're more advanced and that kind of thing. They've seen it. They've been in Tai Chi for a long time. They want to jump to not touching, but I'm like, can you feel it when you touch it? Can you feel it deep inside when you touch it? And if they're like, no, I'm like, let's get that going on. And then that can happen, reasonably quickly. When I say that, oh, maybe it's 2 weeks or a month or 2 months or 3 months. But considering if they've been at Tai Chi for 10 years and they can't do it, 3 months is pretty quick. And I'm talking about to get some fairly detailed information, to get decently good at it in a 3-month span of time. And really it comes typically a lot faster than that. Like when we're doing the internal push hands, they're learning to get all kinds of information inside the person from that touch, in 5-day span, along with the other things that are being taught there. And so all of that, and then from there you start getting good at it. And then once you get good at it, you can pick up more and more and more information, and you don't have to have as much contact or then no contact, and then from further and further and further away. And you build to it in a very logical progression like that. So that way, if you went from having just barely touching them with your fingers to hands off, and at hands off, you're not getting any information, well, you get the qigong, which we'll be talking about, and you get the other kinds of understandings and build up that sensitivity. And then you start being able to perceive that information, and then you grow that. And you keep doing this where it builds. And it's not a guesstimate or a gee, it feels like, or that kind of a thing. It might be when you're in the earlier stages of learning it, but you're ready to go to the next level when you go, it's this. And if you're talking to somebody, they'll go, it is that. And you go, I know, it is that. It's not there's no guesstimate to it. There's none of that. It is fairly precise and very clear, like clear Tai Chi.
One of the ones with the trees that I really like for that is to feel for the roots. Like, this assumes that you don't know a whole lot about trees to begin with, and you don't know what the root structure of any particular tree is supposed to be like or kind of looks like or whatever. And then if you feel for it, if you really are kind of connecting with the tree, like Sifu said, physically at first and then maybe at a distance, but if you can really feel for, like, what is that root structure like? Is it a ball? Does it have a really deep tap root? Does it kind of extend out wide but on the surface? Like, what is going on below the ground where you can't see it? And try to feel for it, and then go look it up later and see what does that particular tree's root structure, that breed of tree, what does that root structure do under the ground, and see if you can start to feel the differences between them to the point where you can go up and feel a tree and say, oh no, yeah, this one has a big ball type root structure, and just know that that's what that feels like. That's a nice way to build a little bit of feedback and kind of guess and check sort of process into your ting if you are connecting with the trees, and get some real valuable right away kind of feedback on what you're feeling.
One of the common questions that or things that people that are sort of skeptical and all that stand off and go, so let's say this is even possible, then why am I going to spend all my time learning how to feel trees? What's that going to do for me? And I'm like, well, if you can feel inside the tree and get a sense for how it goes and feel the top part of the tree, and you can feel down into the roots and where the roots are and where they go. And you can feel if there's a knot in the tree, you can feel the knot, even if the knot's, 10 feet, 15, 20 feet away from where you're at. And you can feel the upper branches. And I'm talking about on a thick tree where it's like, normally think of it as being solid. And you can feel the difference in that surface bark layer as opposed to how deep you go in before it's underneath. And you can feel to the core of the tree, and on and on and on and on. And I've done it where I literally can feel ants walking around on the other side of the tree, where I felt like ants were all over me, and I like almost freaked out. Nope, no ants on me. Looked at the tree, and there was a bunch of ants climbing on the tree, and I felt the ants on the tree. Well, so okay, that's all cool and interesting, but why? Why am I, what other than this cool or interesting thing that I must have a lot of free time to do, why do that? And the answer is, if I can feel the energy at whatever level I can feel it at, you can also then right behind it become fairly good at manipulating. If you can't feel it, you can't manipulate it. And what that means is if I have a person and they have a lot of different kinds of illnesses, injuries, those kinds of things, if I can really feel that in an isolated way, in other words, here's where it is, here's where it's not, there's the line between the two, there's how the injury is, I can act, or the illness, I can go in and directly feel it and then affect it, and have done that. We do that very regularly. And so most people are familiar with DMOC, where somebody gets hit in different pressure points and has different terrible effects going on inside of their body. Well, there are healing methods for almost all of that too. And a lot less people know the healing methods than know how to do the methods. Because a lot of times to do the method, it's like hit this pressure point, hit that other pressure point, bam, bam, or hit this point that's like, let's say it's the jugular or the carotid or the spot on the back of the head that's easy to knock somebody out, or all sorts of other places. And there's now effects inside the body because of this. Places that are locked up, places that are shut, places that are misaligned, like having a rib out of place, these kinds of things. And if you can really put hands on somewhere and feel that, you can also go in with your mind, and this is true in yourself too, and you can adjust that or move it out or do something that has a very productive, healthy result and outcome, like a really good body worker ideally has going, or an acupuncturist, these kind of things, really has going on. And you can do that by the feel. And that's the health part. And then if you're feeling in there, like if I'm gonna hit something that I'm already in contact with, think somebody's trying to wrestle with you, and you want to disrupt an organ inside of them so that they can't keep strangling you to death, like that. Well, I've got to be able to feel that place inside of them and get it so that in my mind, I'm able to isolate it and that it actually is there. And if I can do that, I can pulse enough force to that place that it's like I just punched them hard in that area. And if I can do that, I can make it so they're not choking me anymore. Right. And I can do it from a pretty weak, disadvantaged position, because I just have to be able to get contact somehow to feel that area, to be able to attack that area. So it has very great health and very great self-defense ramifications by being able to have that kind of sensitivity. So if you're too worried about, well, I don't want to go out and be feeling trees and whatever, and you're drinking pot, smoking hippies, whatever it is, then realize there is a much more profound reason for being able to do these things. And it's not like I've got you out there for 10 years trying to feel a tree and then you're never applying that. I'm talking about application from the beginning. And then how are we going to build you to be able to do that skill? And it's going to involve this, because you need that sensitivity and you need to be able to act on that sensitivity. And so we've got to build those skills so that that can happen.
Also, Sifu, and I know you know this, but obviously, but you can exchange energy with trees for your own health. There are all sorts of practices of circulating it through. You can do it with flowers, things of that sort.
Think about it like this. The way I start this off, and I don't get into like great esoteric detail about it, only because there's other things to consider. But the first one is that if you're out walking in a nice floral environment, you're getting, and it's got all this extra oxygen in it that those trees and flowers and bushes and things produce. You're breathing that in and getting that benefit of that highly oxygenated area. You're breathing out the carbon dioxide with the other mix in it, which is what they breathe in. And so they're getting the benefit from you. And so there's already a symbiotic relationship of a sort. And if you think there's not, let's take every source of vegetation that there is off the face of the planet, and then we're not here 5 minutes later. 5 minutes later, because there's no air. We'll breathe up the air that's there, and so maybe it's an hour later, but it's not that long, and we're not here anymore, and it's not going to make any length of time. It's that the oxygen that's created, it is that exchange already, and so it goes to what you're talking about. Cool. Part of it for me, just so that you guys that are on the call with us know too, and anybody that's been listening regularly, or if you just tuned in this time, is that I really, in my own stuff, came at all this from a very, I'm interested in being able to feel trees, and I'm interested in being able to exchange energy with trees. That's all kind of cool and interesting, but it's a hobby in a certain kind of way, right? Because you could just as easily be doing all sorts of other things. And for me, it became, originally it was self-defense. And then right behind that became, I want to be healthy and live a long, healthy life compared to the rest of my family, right? Which are like on my mom's side, neither one of the grandparents they didn't see 50 years old. They were dead before that. And I'm about to be 57. And I'm in good health. And they were not just died before 50, but they were both in bad health before 50, right? They didn't die like suddenly from a car crash. They were in bad health and then they died before the age of 50. Anyways, and so there's that practical side on the health and healing aspect of it. Now, if you're into the other thing and it's more esoteric stuff and you kind of like that, that's cool too. I'm not disparaging you or putting on that at all. What I'm saying is if you're looking at it like, I really want these benefits, I want to be able to do these skills, this stuff that we're talking about, that's part of how you got there. And it's not that you have to go off on a deep, long tangent of doing something with trees. It's that the trees are a very nice tool and a very nice mechanism for helping you to develop and have skills that then apply to these other things. And every once in a great while, I recommend somebody do something with a tree. Normally it's do it with people. That way you've got hands-on, ideally what you're looking to do with it in the long term too. But that's me anyways.
Well, Sifu, I think that's a very important thing that you just said, is that when I'm training people, I usually, okay, we're doing this with people, but because of COVID, people don't want to get that close to each other.
Yeah, the tree hopefully is not carrying COVID. So
exactly. So
at that point, absolutely.
So some of the students who can already do it with people, already have a background in this, go ahead and continue your training with trees.
Oh yeah. Remember, Tai is in California. So.
Cool. Yeah, well, and the point that
I only have one tree hugger.
Only one, yeah. But the point that I was trying to make, and I think that Phil was also making, is that if I had my druthers, I would be pushing with a human being and feeling things that I could feel inside of a human being and feeling what they were doing and how they were responding and all of that. It's only really if I don't have a partner and I want to try to do things to improve my sensitivity anyway, that I'm going to go like push with a tree.
Well, and you're right. In the age of COVID, and sometimes people don't have a lot of times people don't have a partner and you need to do self-training, and there are limitations in what you can do with a tree or that kind of thing. But there are benefits and there are skills that you can develop, and it's better than nothing, by a shot. And so don't mistake me to think I'm disparaging the tree or that you shouldn't work with trees or anything like that. What I'm saying is I worry sometimes because there's so much of it in the Tai Chi that people go, man, dude's going to have you out there like feeling trees and whoa, and then you're going to drink your tea and then you're going to smoke your pot and then you're going to, and it's like, I'm not really coming from that place. That doesn't mean I won't have you doing something that seems really odd for a minute, but I'm always going to bring it back to very stark reality pretty quick. In a nice way, but where you're going to get application pretty directly. Just because that's the way I'm focused, for better or for worse. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the embrace the tree is an exercise, but it's not literally hugging a tree, and it's hold the bowl, not pass the bowl.
I think there's some that practice that other way.
Right.
Anyways.
Not here, not us. We do the real Tai Chi.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other comments or thoughts, guys? Folks? Sheila, did you weigh in on the neigong? You did, right? Yeah, okay. The Tai you got to. All right. All right, so last word, a word from our sponsor there, and it is, if you're interested in these kinds of things and building the ting or getting the skill with the qigong itself, and or how you feel the energy work more in whatever posture or sets you've got, and or getting that going on with your Tai Chi, and both feeling the energy and working with the energy and building the energy and refining the energy and applications of the energy, you can get all that at clearmartialarts.com. And then
and should.
Okay. And then there's the Essential Keys to Internal Power, the Chi Energy book and DVD, and Clear's 24/7 Qigong if you haven't made it something that you're able to kind of do throughout your day as part of your life, and you want to change whatever you've got so that that's kind of going on, the 24/7 qigong is very good about explaining that. Anyways, that's at clearmartialarts.com. Please avail yourself of that. We appreciate it and thank you. And guys and lady, enjoyed working with you guys today, talking with you today, and interacting with you today, and looking forward to our next time.
Hey, good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll
Take
pick
care,
up,
everybody.
we'll pick it up from here on this next time. We're about halfway through on this topic, and we'll be finishing the topic up in the next
I
session.
haven't even mentioned Fogun yet, except for the Fogun
Yeah.
workshop, which is available at clearmartialarts.com. But
Yeah.
we'll be picking up more about the distinctions.
Yeah, the
of that.
Qigong will be the next thing we're talking about, and then Tai Chi is yin and yang together in motion, and then how it applies in with the Chinese medicine a little more, which we talked about some, and then proper training and time and working to learn work you learn. With proper training and time and work, you learn how to direct this better and better, and we're going to talk about some of that, and we'll get into all that in the next sessions. Cool.
Have a great time. Have a great week in the meantime. Everybody, take care.
All right.
Care.
Do you have anything to talk to us about that you needed to get into or whatever, and stay on after we're done recording here? And have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
For those of you who are interested in internal power and want a reliable place to start, and for anyone who wants to experience internal power for themselves, go to internalpowerguide.com. I built a crash course in hands-on internal power. The practical guide to internal power is a work at your own pace online program. It is the course I use to get students from 0 to 60 as quickly as possible, and it is totally free. So sign up at internalpowerguide.com now and get started right away. That's internalpowerguide.com.